We have a very lovely and special guest today. But before we start our program, as we do every week, I want to give you an update on the incredible journey of Erden Eruç, rowing solo across the Pacific Ocean from North America to Asia. Erden, who has already 15 Guinness World Records, rowed 2,600 miles in 80 days from California to Hawaii. After a short break in Hawaii, he started his rowing journey on October 7th towards Hong Kong, another 5,600 miles. This is only using oars, no motors, no sails, no carbon print of any kind, in a small yellow boat. Please check the erdeneruç.com site for his blog and tracking. You can always donate to his cause, Ocean Recovery Alliance, which is to raise awareness around the world about plastics in the ocean. On October 13th, U.S. Coast Guard Monroe stopped by to make sure all is okay with Erden. And that was very nice, and I think Erden was touched. Now, now we'll start and welcome our, our great guest, Mrs. Lolita Zinke, a woman of many talents and roles. Last time we had her on our program in April, she was having a break from her duties as the wife of the Interior Secretary of the United States. In U.S. cabinet government, the word secretary stands for minister, or bakan in Turkish. It's not an ordinary secretary. Now, back in action, Mrs. Zinke is full-time, non-stop campaigning political wife. Her husband, former Interior Secretary Ryan Zinke, is running for re-election in 2022 to be the representative from Montana in the U.S. Congress. Mrs. Zinke, who is an accomplished legalist with a law degree, comes from a diplomatic family. She is the mother of 3 wonderful children and is a world traveler with friends all over the globe. She speaks fluent Spanish and, of course, excellent English. Here, I must say that we are really thankful to Sevil Altınsoy of the Turkish Airlines, who introduced ZINKE'S to the Turkish community to Turkey. How lucky we were. Now, Mrs. Zinke herself is a well-seasoned political person, both at the Capitol Hill and the state level also. She was the freshman president of the Congressional Club in 2015-16, which is a congressional spouses club dedicated to promoting bipartisan relationships. She has been on President Trump's National Hispanic Advisory Council and also on the Veterans Affairs Committee for veteran families, caregivers, and survivors. Throughout her life, she worked on all aspects of 7 political campaigns, local, state, and national. This should be on her age. She is a person with so many interests, work experiences, and much volunteer work. We will get to them as we speak. I want to thank her very much to take time from her extremely busy schedule to be with us today. I also want to thank our tech team joining us from Turkey, Erkan Şahin and İzlediğiniz. Now, the podium is yours, Mrs. Zinke, and tell us about the U.S. political system and what is the wife's role and what does it entail?
Well, good morning, merhaba, Oya. It's so wonderful to see you again and be here addressing all of your wonderful guests in the United States and in Turkey or wherever they may be. It's just a beautiful day to be discussing this. And as you know, the our elections are about to begin. We're going to have our first election in it's called the primary. in June. This is in Montana. And then we'll have the general election in September. So to talk a little bit about politics in the United States and how it works, first you have to understand that there are state politics and also federal politics or national. So they're divided into two different elections. So the elections happen at the same time. You go and you vote on the same day, but in one election, you could be either voting for a state representative, like a governor, lieutenant governor, a state senator, a state representative, or a variety of other positions, or you could also, during that same election, you could be voting for in a federal election for the President of the United States, for your state senator, which there are two, for your representative in Congress, which Ryan is currently running for that position again. So he's, like I said, he's running for that position in Congress. In Montana, we currently have one representative that goes to Washington, D.C. In Congress. He's in the House of Representatives. We have, like every other state, we have two senators. One of them is Senator Daines, and the other is Senator Tester. So each state, so going back to the representatives, each state has a number of representatives based on population. So when Ryan was a congressman prior to this, and he represented the entire state because we don't have a large population in Montana. California, for example, has many state representatives that go to Washington because they have a large population, as does, for example, Florida or the state of New York. So after the 2020 census, it turned out that Montana had an increase in population. We have more people moving into the state, I believe as a result of the pandemic and the fact that people can now work from any place on their computer like we're doing today. So you don't have to be in your office anymore. So a lot of people have chosen to move into our beautiful state of Montana, which is great. But as a result of that, we now have enough population where we can have two representatives. So Ryan is currently running for this open seat, the second seat in Montana, to represent the people.
So there is a primary in June. Yes,
there is a primary in June. So in June, what will happen is so each state does it a little bit differently. And I'm not sure how other states do it. I'm very much aware of how they do it in Montana, but you will either vote you can vote the two Republican candidates who are up for this seat. You can choose between either one of them, or if you're a Democrat, you can choose. I think there's 3 or 4 Democrats running to gain that primary seat. Or to gain that primary election. So once they're chosen, you will have one Republican and one Democrat running. I'm not sure what they do with the independents, if that goes in as well, if they win the popular vote or not. But anyway, so then in September, you will then have the election against the Republican or the Democrat, or sometimes the independent candidate will be in there as well, if there is one. I don't think that there is an independent candidate that has announced so far in the state of Montana, but I could be wrong.
But is it, you're having an election in September, or is it going with the November general election?
November, I'm sorry.
Okay, because every state does things differently, but the November elections are there. And representative's job is not easy because you run for election every 2 years.
Every 2 years.
You win one and then you're depleted from money, funds, and then you start again.
Yeah. So for the election cycle for representatives is 2 years. We know that the election cycle for the president is every 4 years, and the election cycle for a senator is every 6 years.
Yeah, that is good. I know he did run, he was a Congress representative for 2 years, and then he won the second term.
Yes.
Then he became the Secretary of the Interior.
Yes. So the secretarial spot is a cabinet level position, and you're appointed by the president. So the president, it's his duty to choose his cabinet members and who is going to represent him in the various cabinet positions. And so that's one of the reasons why they say that elections have consequences. The cabinet members implement the policy of the president.
Yes, exactly. And he was excellent, coming from Montana. And I loved his arriving on the horseback. And that was so symbolic and so nice. And tell us about Montana. It's a lovely state, and it's not too crowded. There's the Rockies there. And tell us a little about Montana and how are the winters? And the summers are beautiful, probably.
Well, let's start with the fact that having Ryan ride in on the horse was indeed symbolic of the West, because when you see somebody mounted on a horse, as my husband was, and later on in his portrait, that is a Western scene. And so the symbolism was to indicate that the West does matter. We know that Washington, D.C. is on the eastern coast of the United States. And so sometimes in the West, we feel that we might be a little bit ignored, or people don't really know exactly what goes on in the West. So our winters in Montana are very cold. They're snowy. We have a lot of cross-country skiing, downhill skiing, sledding, all kinds of fun winter activities. People go ice fishing, which is very, very cold.
Dangerous too.
I think so. I think you might have a chance of getting frostbite out there. But so it's a beautiful state, both in the summer, in the fall. There's a picture of the fall right now. In the summer and in the fall, it's beautiful, and in the wintertime as well. There's a picture of our and whitefish. But it's a beautiful, large state. The western area of the state has a lot of mountains, lakes, rivers, beautiful forests. The eastern part of the state is more plains, where we have a lot of large cattle ranches in big open prairie land. So it's a very large state, a very beautiful state, but it's the population is low, so we do not have a lot of people.
Oh, you should be thankful for it, especially during the pandemic. I tell you, everything is so crowded. Anyway, I'm very partial to the Rockies. My honeymoon, we drove from Vancouver through the Canadian Rockies to Saskatchewan.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And the beauty.
Yeah, and I know they're cold, and then it is its own charm. I really enjoyed the cold, and then we drove through the Dakotas to come to Illinois. So lovely state. Anyway, so when did the campaign start? When did your husband decide to run for the Congress?
Well, his campaign started essentially after they announced that there was going to be an additional seat added to Montana. And so he thought about it. And in Montana, as you say, there's one state, 2 seats, one mission. And that mission is to have both seats be represented by a Republican. And our attempt is to retake the majority in order to right the American ship, so to speak, to use a nautical term. We feel that it's necessary to put a brake on some of the policies and some of the effects that the policies have that the current administration is implementing. So,
but that is really a very good American system. I've noticed. I've been in this country for 60 years. You never let the pendulum go too far out. If it gets too liberal, then the elections come and the pendulum gently goes to the right. And then if it goes to the right, again, it balances out. It looks chaotic, but it is, yes, it has to be chaotic because you hear everybody. And you never let the extremes take over this way, which is excellent. I mean, I always admire the electoral system in the U.S. So what is your role, and how are you involved? What do you do? I did a lot, but tell us your role and what is expected of you. You probably do much more.
Sure. Well, my role right now is mostly a support role, helping Ryan in the various things that he's doing, going to different campaign events, helping him to prepare some of his statements, mostly accompanying him to the various different places that we go to and talking to people. And I think maybe most importantly is listening. When we go on the campaign trail, people come to see Ryan and to see the different candidates, to listen, and also to be heard. And I believe it's very important to hear what the people are saying. What is it that their concerns are? And when you have more than one set of ears, and when you have different people listening to what people's concerns are, then that's helpful in perhaps shaping your policy, in learning new ideas, in understanding different people's concerns from a different perspective, not just the candidate's perspective. So it's very important. So Ryan is he will give his speeches, he will talk, he will ask questions. And I think as a wife, my role is to listen and to see what it is that people are saying, what they're concerned about. Sometimes it's easier to approach the spouse or perhaps a staff member of the candidate than it might be the candidate, because the candidate might be busy or for a variety of reasons. So I get a lot of people ask me questions. For example, I'm here today.
Yes, you are everywhere. That is so wonderful. Tell us about your interest in maritime affairs, in nautical affairs, like the launching of the USS Santa Barbara, appropriately named. Tell us how did that come?
Well, that was, it's a very nice story. My birthday is in October. I just celebrated yet another birthday recently. And a few years ago, Secretary of the Navy Spencer called me up on my birthday, and he said that he wanted to offer me to be the sponsor of the Navy's newest littoral combat ship. She's called an LCS, Littoral Combat Ship, and that we were going to name her the USS Santa Barbara after my hometown. So it's a great honor, and of course I accepted his invitation to be the sponsor. And that is a very long process because they have to build the ship. One of the events that we had that is shown here on your screen is we did a keel laying ceremony, and the keel is the front part of the ship, the angular part at the very front. So the keel laying ceremony, we weld a plate, on a symbolic plate, onto the keel with my initials. And so that was the first part that we did. And then the second part, so then they go on and they build the rest of the ship. And the second life or part of the ship that they do is they do the christening. And this is after the ship is built about 82%, 80 to 90% complete. So the ship, while it still has about 10% left to be built, mostly the inside, a lot of the instrument panels, and perhaps the putting on the carpet and different comfort features of the ship. So we did the christening of the ship on the 16th of October, and that was in Mobile, Alabama. The ship builders are Austal. They're a shipbuilding company out of Australia. And so they invited me, and there's a picture of me on stage with a few admirals and some of the dignitaries where we did the christening of the USS Santa Barbara. So the next step in the life of the ship will be sea trials. Well, they will complete her. Then she will have sea trials, so they will launch her into the water. And at that point in time, the company who built the ship, Austal, along with the U.S. Navy, will go in and they will do sea trials and see that everything is running smoothly with the ship. After that, she will sail through the Panama Canal, and she will sail up to Santa Barbara, and we are hoping to do the commissioning of the ship here in Santa Barbara in our beautiful waters. And the commissioning ceremony is when the ship is handed over to the crew that will be the crew of the USS, the ship's crew.
Wow, what a nice story. So what kind of champagne did you use on that?
Well, that's an excellent question, Oya. I was actually able to bring a bottle of sparkling wine from Santa Barbara, and it is, it's a vineyard here. It's called Folded Hills. And a friend of mine, Andy Bush, Andy and Kim are the proprietors of Folded Hills, and very, very wonderful couple. They do a lot for the community, and they donated some champagne, or some sparkling wine, I should say, in order to christen the ship. So she was christened with sparkling wine from grapes from Santa Barbara. So I was very proud to be able to do that.
Yeah. That's very, very nice. Montana is a landlocked state. But yes, now, through you, they have a connection to all the seas. And I hope you are explaining to them that, it's an opening to the seas for them. And they should really appreciate you. Well, and we were so excited about that. Those photos are all over WhatsApp and everywhere, and we loved it. Now, of course, you did campaign a lot, and then you travel a lot. And one of the countries you like is Turkey, I think, travel. And I know you've been. I love. Yes. I know you've been to Paris when you did your antique business. And of course, you are connected to South America, to all the countries there, probably. So you are also a world traveler. And I know you took a break, a vacation to Turkey from your campaign activities. So that was like in June or July. When did you go? And can you tell us a little about your trip and how did it go?
Well, it was absolutely beautiful. I went over, in the last part of June. And I met my friend, Seville Altensoy, our friend. She's pictured there on that beautiful boat. Michelle is there. And yeah, Michelle is in that picture as well. So we went over. I flew into Istanbul on Turkish Airlines, of course, my favorite airline. And I went to Istanbul for a few days, and then Seville and our friend Janan and we flew down to Fethiye, and we went to a beautiful resort called the Hillside Resort, and it's on the coast. There's a picture of it right now. You can see the waters are turquoise, crystal clear, perfect temp. There's turquoise right there, turquoise waters. That's a picture at night, obviously. And just a beautiful, there is a picture from up above of Hillside Resort. It is paradise on earth. Absolutely a gorgeous place, very family oriented. They have several beaches. They have activities all day long for the children, activities for the adults. You can take exercise classes, you can take dance, and tennis, anything, swimming, anything that you want to do. They have a variety. You can go sailing, you can go scuba diving, you can do anything that you can think of. The activities are set out there for you. Very easy. I have to say, their kitchen is incredible. I don't think I've ever ate better for the time that we were there. Just amazing, amazing. Of course, Turkish food, my favorite. So they really outdo themselves there. They have the staff is a lot of young people who are very interested. They're obviously in the hotel and hospitality business, and their training is excellent. So you receive the best care and attention at that hotel. It is truly a 5-star hotel. I can't say more about it. So that was the first part. That was the first part of the trip. From there, we went on to Bodrum and had a beautiful time in Bodrum. As everybody, that's my little dog. Sorry. We had an excellent time in Bodrum, and that was lovely. From Bodrum, we went back up to Istanbul, and there we met with the Prime Minister, Binali Yildirim, and we spent a beautiful day with him out in the waters off the coast of Istanbul, and went to the Princess Islands, where we toured the museum. And we also went to a Greek Orthodox monastery there was a priest there as well. So it was absolutely incredible.
I was so pleased that you did visit the Yukada, the monastery there. I'm from Heybeli, next door. And we also had a monastery, and they had so much romantic look to the island. And it's good to see that we have monasteries, we have synagogues, we have all kinds of churches, not only on the islands, but all over Istanbul and big cities. Yes. And then I know you went to Ephesus, to the Virgin Mary, and it was so beautiful, your pictures and you with Ryan there. It was very, very nice. Yeah. And so that was good you did that. I mean, Istanbul has many religious places, and when people in the U.S. say we are oppressing minorities, we are oppressing religions, you have to go see yourself. It's not so. I mean, we lived with them for centuries, and it's just a tradition for us. It's just accepted, totally normal. They don't look minorities to us. I mean, I just want to mention that 500 years ago, Turks welcomed Jews running from the Inquisition and from Spain. And in the Second World War II, Turks again welcomed Jews running from the Nazis. So we have a good record. So I always feel very uneasy when I hear there's oppression, there is this. So perhaps you can correct that as you go.
Well, I think one thing that most people don't realize is that Turkey has more relevant Christian sites than any place in the world. Any place in the world. So there's a picture of me at the Virgin Mary's house, an absolutely beautiful, beautiful location. It's a place of religious pilgrimage, very important in the Christian faith, and a very, very spiritual place. Absolutely beautiful. I recommend it to anybody who goes to Turkey to go and visit. And that's by Ephesus, near Izmir. Absolutely beautiful, a must go.
Yeah. Well, that's great. So you had the sea and the sand and then prayers too.
Yes,
Did you
exactly.
pray for the campaign?
Yes. Yeah.
And now you're back full time again, working on the campaign. And I saw that park it's a Great Northern Veterans Peace Park. How did that come along? You were one of the co-founders. You are the co-founder.
I'm the co-founder, and I'm also the president of the Great Veteran Northern's Peace Park. And it's a park right next door, across the street from where my husband grew up. And when he grew up as a little boy, it used to be it was a train yard. And so we have the Great Northern Railway that goes right through Montana. And so it was a train yard where the Great Northern Railway would keep extra wood and rocks, gravel, the things to build a railroad and things to fix a train. They would also sometimes keep explosives there. But it was this big area. It's about 20 acres. And the railroad donated the property to us many years ago. And we asked them to do that in order to build a children's sledding hill. So, like I said, when my husband was younger, he used to sled in that abandoned, gravel area and train yard. And he used to sled and play and build forts and do all the things that young children do or young boys do. So we had it donated to us, and we started a very long journey and there's a picture of the park now today. You can see it has a pond. In the wintertime, and I'm sorry I didn't provide a picture, but in the wintertime, the pond freezes over, and we have the ability to flood the top of the pond so that it freezes, so that the children can do ice skating there. So they ice skate, and they also play hockey, because hockey is a big sport in Montana. So a lot of the children will go there and they'll play hockey games. There's another picture of the park. You can see me standing there with my little dog who just barked a few minutes ago. And there's another picture of my dog. Ryan's holding it in his lap, and my son Wolf and his little dog Cusco. But anyways, so we have been working on this park for many years now, and we've put a lot of material into it. We've built some running trails. We've landscaped it. We recently built, we have a new fountain in the park. It's actually a well, and it will become a fountain in the middle of the park. And also for irrigation. It's a beautiful place to go in the winter to sled. Some of the kids like to do snowboarding, practice their snowboarding on one of the hills there. Like I mentioned before, you can do hockey or ice skate. And in the summertime, in the fall, and the spring, you can walk there, you can run on the trails. It's an off-leash dog park, so if your dog is well behaved, you're welcome to bring your dog there and have him run around and chase a stick. You can play Frisbee, enjoy, have a picnic. On the 4th of July, a lot of people enjoy going to the park and sitting on the hill to watch the fireworks that we have. So the fireworks Yeah. So it's a very fun place, and I'm very proud of our work with that.
Yeah. Have you done ice fishing?
I have not.
It terrifies me, actually.
I think it would be very cold, but we have family members who enjoy ice fishing. But I think it's a very, very cold thing to do, because you're sitting on a frozen lake and you drill a hole into the ice and I suppose drop your fishing line in there, but you're sitting on the ice for many hours because you don't, it's an all-day activity. I think I would be very cold.
That is. Are they're in little huts? Are they, or are they open in the?
No, I've seen them. I've seen some people do it in the open, but mostly they have a tent or a little structure of type. I don't think that you could heat it up a lot, because then the ice might melt and then you'd be sitting and you might fall into the water. You'd be sitting in slushy, in slush. So.
Well, I remember seeing it in the comedy hour, Frasier. Did you watch Frasier?
Yes. Yeah, that was one of my favorite shows.
Guys are trying to do ice fishing with their father. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
But anyway, that is something that was new to me. I don't know whether we have it in the cold areas of Turkey, but this is very unique to Great Northwest.
Yeah.
And so you're also very active in the Veterans Affairs, and that is so important. That photo of you with those two veterans with those artificial limbs, and so how did you get interested in that field? It was just compassion, probably, and concern.
Yes, compassion and concern for our veterans. As you know, my husband is a veteran. He spent 23 years in the U.S. Navy as a Navy SEAL. And my daughter was also in the Navy. She was a Navy diver. So Jennifer decided that after 9/11, she decided she was going to she was in university at UC Santa Cruz in Northern California, and she was in the university for a few quarters, and this was right after 9/11, and she decided she wanted to join the military and fight for her country after what had happened on that terrible day. And so she went in and she became a Navy diver. And as a Navy diver, she was the female Navy divers is a very small community. It's a very, very difficult, very physical job. She was a hard hat diver, and she also became a medical technician. So she would operate the hyperbaric chambers. So when Navy SEALs or when Navy divers would go under the water for too long, when they come up, back on top of the surface, sometimes they have to go into a decompression chamber in order to equalize the oxygen levels and nitrogen levels in their body. So she became a Navy diver. She graduated first in her class. We're very, very proud of her. And so some people, her nickname used to be G.I. Jen. Anyway, so she's a veteran as well. So I have, and my son-in-law was a Navy SEAL as well. So we have strong ties to the Navy, to the military from my family as well, past generations. And being around the military community, which is my favorite community, I thought it's always very important to not only support our active duty, but also to support them once they come home. As you know, we just ended the longest war and had a withdrawal from Afghanistan. And our U.S. military personnel have been coming back for many years now, and many of them broken in a variety of different ways that you and I will never, ever be able to comprehend. It's a long journey. Some of the injuries are physical, as you see there. and some of them are mental. There's also difficulties on the home front because, and I know from myself as a spouse, as a military dependent of somebody who was gone a long time, on constant deployments. It's difficult to raise, children and to keep the household at home on your own while you know that your husband or your wife, your spouse, or your family member is overseas in harm's way. So it's important to focus on the military veteran, but also their families. And the other thing is when the veterans come home and they happen to be injured, they need caregivers. And the caregivers are oftentimes the family members, if they have, if they're married or if they have a mother, father, sister, brother. So oftentimes they need a lot of help, and those are the caregivers. And we sometimes don't think about what goes into taking care of our veterans who happen to be our family members. It can be a very difficult job with no relief. So we have to focus on that as well. These people signed up, the veterans signed up active duty to defend our freedoms, to defend the Constitution, and also to go to distant shores to fight for other people's freedoms and to help other countries in peril or in danger. So when they come back, we owe them a debt of gratitude. And I felt that it was important to, in my own small way, try and help veterans, their families, and their caregivers. So that's what I did.
Yeah, that's very, very important. That's excellent. Do the kids help you in the campaign? I know they're very lovely kids. I see, and I saw them in the fundraisers once in the photo. Yeah. But they're busy with schools and such, probably.
Yes. Well, our son Wolfgang lives in Montana, and he's working in cybersecurity right now. And our other son, Conrad, our youngest, lives in Santa Barbara, and he's at UCSB, University of California, Santa Barbara. He's studying economics, with an emphasis in accounting. And Jennifer has her two daughters. She lives in Norfolk, Virginia. So the kids provide moral support. They attend some of the fundraisers and some of the campaign events when they can.
They're wonderful. Do you still continue with your activities with the Amazon and the kids, in the South America, or do you have time for this now?
I have not recently. We were down to Peru 2 years ago and went to visit the Amazon again. You can't keep me away from there. I love going to the Amazon. And I met with one of the people who was helping me with the Amazon kids, and he told me that the village of Palmeras is doing very well. I hope to get down there again as soon as I can and continue with my work down there. But the children still have computers and printers. They have the building that we built to house that. And so they're still using that, and we try and support them, but from afar. So unfortunately, I can't be down there all the time.
Yeah, it's too much. Well, what kind of challenges you see in Montana when you are campaigning? What is the biggest issues to them? I mean, you said that, the system of state is very nice. Yeah. It's a huge country, and Montana's concerns, Washington can't understand it all. So the states are kind of independent. They have their own governments to address their issues. And then they have representatives to communicate with the capital. It's really an ideal system, and not to make other countries have it, but not to the extent the U.S. has. So what are their main concerns what do you see? Is the poverty, economy, climate change. So what do you see mostly in Montana?
Well, currently, right now, I would say the biggest issues are the economy, finding well-paying jobs that can sustain a lifestyle, a comfortable lifestyle. In Western Montana, which I'm more familiar with, but really all around Montana, we have a housing crisis. And so that is that's a very big issue that a lot of people are facing. So a lot of people, the housing market has skyrocketed in Montana as it has in other parts of the country. So it's difficult for people to find affordable housing close to their work. In Montana, as you know, in the wintertime, it can often be dangerous to drive far distances. And when you have to live far from where you work, then every day you're putting your life at peril. Also, when you're driving your kids to school from a far distance because you can't afford to live close to your community, you run the risk of driving in the snow or in a storm in icy conditions. So that can be dangerous. So jobs are very important. Good paying jobs in Montana that pay a decent wage. Also, like I said, the housing crisis is first and foremost. And I think the other issue is schools and what's going on currently in our school system. I know that one of the concerns I have is with children going back to school and having to wear the face masks. You can go to a restaurant now and, apparently to a Met Gala event and not wear a face mask, but we have our children in school still having to mask up. And as a parent, now my children are not in elementary or high school, they're not K through 12, but I would find that very difficult to have my kids sitting in a classroom for 8 hours with a mask on. Or at recess trying to play or doing a sporting event or something. It does not seem fair or correct at all, nor does it seem healthy to me. So those are really the major concerns. I think another big one is the price of commodities that we're facing right now. So the price of food has gone up, the price of lumber has gone up, gasoline has gone up. And Montana, as you know, is a very big state. So if you go from one city to another, we don't have a train system. There is a train, but you don't commute by rail in Montana. You don't fly from one state to another unless you have a private airplane, but most people don't. So you have to drive all around Montana, great distances. And the price of fuel, gasoline for your car has gone up astronomically. So this affects people commuting in their jobs. It also affects delivery of goods. It also affects the farmers who have to put diesel into their tractors. So this makes the price of everything go up. So I think one of the big things that we're concerned about in Montana is how are we going to pay for the basic fuel that we need for our cars, or in the wintertime, we have to heat our homes. And the price of natural gas, most of the homes are heated by natural gas, some, by other means. But for the most part, natural gas, how are we going to heat our homes when it's so expensive? So I think those are some of the major concerns that Montanans have right now.
Especially with a big state like that. Well, what I wanted to, I know we are taking too much of your time. We are not a large voting community, but what can we do to help you as a Turkish American community? Actually, we have Azerbaijani. There are other Turks that are, we are relatives, let's say, yeah. Azerbaijanis especially. And I don't know, we have too many of them in Montana, but how can we help you? We can pass the word and we can do financial support.
I think your prayers and well wishes would be absolutely wonderful and very, very very helpful, and we would be very thankful to receive those.
Well, well, one last question. Are you planning to run for a political position yourself one day? You would be ideal. Really, you are so prepared for it. You have done so much, and you are so much in it. 8 campaigns. You are involved in 8 campaigns. The 9th should be yours.
Well, as you know,
anyway, that's all. That's all.
Thank you. Ryan is the speech giver. You've heard him give a few speeches, and he's the one who's best in front. I think I'm better behind, helping and helping out from behind the scenes. So I will concentrate my duties as being the USS Santa Barbara's sponsor and helping the active duty crew on her, all the sailors and their families, to have good deployments and good homecomings. So that's what my current focus is. So I'm very much looking forward to that.
Well, best luck and great success. We'll follow you day by day, like we follow our famous record-breaking rower. And we'll be in touch, and you're coming for a nice program to Washington. We'll see you there. And okay. Thank you for taking the time, and our best wishes to you both.
Thank you so much, Oya. And thank you to your crew back in Turkey. I thought that they were there with you in Washington, but thank you so much. And it was great to see you again. And all my love to my friends and to the country of Turkey once again. Best wishes.
Thank you.
Bye.